Welcome to Studying Law Around the World. I'm Claudio Klaus. In each episode, I talk with lawyers, law students, and professors from different parts of the world to talk about legal education, careers, and what the profession looks like in real life. We talk about the hard parts, the surprises, and the decisions that shaped their paths. Whether you're planning to study abroad, thinking about working in another legal system, or just curious about how law works around the world, this podcast is for you. Today, I have the opportunity to speak with Camila Motta. She has an incredible practicing family law. She's a graduate of Osgoode Hall, and I'm so glad to be able to talk with her today. Thank you so much for making the time to be in the podcast today, Camila.
Thank you, Klaus, for inviting me. It's actually really nice to be able to share my experience, my views of how, the law life is here in Ontario. And thank you for describing my practice as incredible.
It certainly is. To start off our podcast, I wanted to say that I don't think I ever had a guest before who practices family law. And to start, I'd love for you to introduce yourself.
So my name is Camila Motta. I share my Brazilian background with Klaus. So I am from Brazil. I immigrated here as a grown-up already without family. And initially, when I first immigrated, the licensing equivalency was not an option. So I would have to go back to law school. I still wanted to have kids. So I basically left law on the side for a while I was growing my family. Eventually, the option to do the LLM was available. So I had my kids already. So I went back to school, finished my LLM, finished my NCA. I did an article. I decided to do the LPP. I didn't even try to find an articling position. From the beginning, I knew that eventually I would have my own practice. And I had heard that the LPP teaches you like some business. You actually leave there with a business plan. So I knew from the beginning that LPP would be my choice. And I was a little bit scared of some experiences I heard from articling students. Like sometimes you hear amazing experiences, people who are really lucky, but you also hear experiences like I was just photocopying or, I was doing work that is not like legal training. And I didn't want to take a chance. I didn't want to risk it. So at the LPP, I also knew that I would have some kind of standard experience. And I did. I did learn a lot. I was exposed to different areas, even though I always knew it was going to be family law. It was a way for me to expose myself to like an immigration file and things like that because we do role playing. So it was very interesting. There is also all they have a lot of new ideas. Like they have a department that is about innovation. So it's really nice to see their energy and all the ideas they have. And like if I had more time available in my life, I would probably, have joined because they always have like open doors, at least back in the day. They always felt like they were welcoming. So it was a really nice experience. I have friends from the LPP that I still see and meet, and like I refer people to that refer people to me. So it was a nice experience. The work placement is just for 4 months. And in my case, that was when the pandemic hit. So it wasn't even 4 months for me. But luckily I had enough for the license. And then I got my license.
Fantastic. And you mentioned starting your own practice and sort of knowing that you would be doing that from the get-go. So I'm curious about, family law specifically of all areas. There are a few moments that made you decide to start Revive Law, and then also was there like a specific problem that you saw often that you wanted to solve for families when you launched your firm?
Yeah, well, I think that decision, one thing is for you to be a mature student, and the other thing is for you to know, like, off college, off law school. Like, my law degree is from, I think, 2005. So even though I'm a newish lawyer here in Ontario, my law degree is not new, right? So like when I opened Revive Law, I used to tell people I'm too old to have a boss. So ultimately, that was my idea. Like I want to be able to have this work-life balance. My priority were always my kids. So I knew that they were still little, that they would need me. I didn't want to, go work on Bay Street and, be doing crazy hours and all those things. I mean, I'm not, it's a wonderful career too. It was just not for me, considering my priorities and where I was in my life at that point. So off when I got my license, opening my own practice, was an option, but it was also a scary option. I didn't have experience. And funny enough, I was going for separation myself at the same time. So I just thought it was too much to handle. But it was also, remember, the pandemic. So the courts were closed. No one was hiring. They were actually letting people go. So I didn't really know what to do, but I applied for some jobs. I got a job right away. Like within a week, I got a job, even in the middle of all that. But it was fee splitting. No one was offering a job, a salary, you know? So it was fee splitting in King City, which was okay for me at the time. Unfortunately, it didn't work. So I was there for less than a month, and I'm not going to share the details of that. So it just simply didn't work. And that was July 2020. So in August 2020, I kept applying, but there were like maybe one or two job postings because of the pandemic. And then I decided, well, and remember, I'm separating. So I really needed income. Like, okay, so here I am. I'm going to do what I can. I knew how to do wills. I'm going to start offering wills, and I'm going to start presenting myself as a lawyer. I'm a family law lawyer, and I'm going to be a estate planning lawyer. At the time, I wasn't doing marketing or anything like that, but I quickly set up a website using Google. I'm a Google fan, so everything I have, all my firm, everything is Google based. So I prepared my own website. It wasn't a huge thing, but it was a way to show people my name, my email, how to contact me. I set up my Calendly. At the time was a free account, and I actually found two, maybe or three clients, Brazilian couples that hired me to prepare the estate planning documents. And I did, and that I was pretty confident right away to prepare estate planning. I did do that at my work placement. I used to go to watch like webinars every week about that. So I was pretty good doing that. I'm like, okay, so at least this is something. So here I am doing my invoices here and there. And then a friend of a friend who had a lawyer, who had a law firm, a family law firm, was looking for a lawyer, but they didn't want to pay a salary to because of the circumstances. And then she ended up like quote unquote hiring me. And that's where I worked for 2 years. So I started there September 2020, and that was it. So when you work for fee splitting, like the classic fee splitting, you just receive a portion of your collected fees. So even if you bill $1 million, if the firm can only collect 200,000, you are going to receive a percentage of that 200,000, right? So that's very important. And sometimes, like the firm, you you don't necessarily have control over how the payments are going to be made. So sometimes the firm is okay postponing the payment from the client, which means your salary is going to be postponed too. So it's scary, but at the time, like literally there was no job postings. So it's what I had. At least they could give me work. So I got a I started like at the beginning, my first 4 months, 3 months, my income was really low. But within 6 to 8 months, my income was pretty okay. And it just kept increasing from there because then you get more and more clients. And it was okay. Like my first court appearance was, I think, in October 2020, and it was already an ex parte motion, an ugly one, probably the worst I ever had in my career. And that tally ended in my hand because, like we kind of knew we were going to lose that one, and we did. But it's not bad when your first experience is a lost case because then you don't feel guilty that it was like on you, the loss. Like it was like no one would have, I couldn't, like on the facts I had, I couldn't win that motion. But it gives you a lot of experience. It teaches you how to deal with your anxiety. I remember on that day that I really felt, oh, that's what they put in the movies, because often in the movies you see a lawyer like running to the bathroom right before a court appearance, and then you can hear like that, their guts are not really well. And I felt I was so nauseated. I didn't have to run to the bathroom, but I felt the nausea from the anxiety, right? I really feel for my clients. That was always the case. So I knew that client was going to lose and it was really bad, like having to go through that. But every single thing that happened in my life brought me here, right? So I'm thankful for everything. Yeah, so when you do fee splitting, you see exactly how much you're billing, how much you are generating to the firm, how much the firm is collecting. So you are thinking money all the time. It's not just, you get your pay stub and that's it. No, like you need to know, how am I going to bring clients? Yes, the firm can give you some clients, but at some point they may stop giving you more clients, right? So you need to bring clients. In my case, I was able to negotiate a higher percentage for the clients I was bringing. So obviously, I wanted to bring more clients because if I'm bringing the clients, then I'm making more because it would be a higher percentage. And yeah, so I would say it wasn't hard to generate income. The first 6 months, yes, they were tough, but after that, it was okay. And it was funny because I was also going like a month after, or within the month I got my license, my ex-husband served me with an application. So my actual first court appearance in Canada was my own case. And obviously in the facts of my case, it was said that I was a lawyer, that I had my license and all that information about me. So the judges knew who I was, that I was a new lawyer and all that. So both judges I was before from my own case, they would stop the hearing at some point. They would excuse themselves and ask the other side to talk to me about my career. So I've received firsthand career advice from very important judges in Ontario, family law judges, and like as a family law lawyer, that's who you want to listen to. And one big advice that I got from the second judge was, do not worry about how you're going to attract clients. The clients will come. Focus on your work. Do the best you can, and the clients will come. And I always keep that in mind. Like, and it's absolutely true that at least in this 6 years, 5 years and a half, the clients did come and they keep coming. And yes, like as a business owner, you don't have a pay stub. So sometimes I do worry. Sometimes I'm like, my goodness, like, is my income decreasing now? Like, do I need to pursue more clients? Like, what's happening? Where are the clients? They disappeared. Because yes, there are waves, but I like, so it's sometimes from time to time I do feel this anxiety, but I didn't really have to deal with that problem that, oh my God, I don't have clients. No, not yet, thankfully, and hopefully ever. So did I play your question? What was the question again?
Oh, absolutely. And I do appreciate you going into, the client specific and in the thoughts about money, because sometimes we talk about law and we talk about, developing a practice and all of that, and focus a lot on the work and don't even mention the financial aspect of it. But it's hard to ignore the reality that any profession has a specific end in mind, in a way, right? So I do appreciate you going into that. And I'd love to hear, if you could tell me, in another like 5 minutes or so, what does a family law practice looks like, generally speaking? So is there a lot of like, is it 100% court applications? There's kind of like a 50-50. Is it, because if I understand it correctly, it identifies much more as like a barrister practice than a solicitor one. So I'd love to hear a little more about, like, even though it's hard to say what a day to day looks like in any practice because it can be so varied, what does it generally look like?
I answer to emails most of the time. Most of the time, that's what I'm doing. I'm answering to either clients' emails or obviously opposing counsel emails. But what does it look like? I guess it also depends on how you want to build your career. So you have litigators, people who will only have court cases. So they may do some negotiation from the beginning, but right away they are starting an application and they're pursuing that in court. You can be a mediator. You can decide not to work as a lawyer necessarily and become a full mediator. My experience finding clients as a mediator, it's not It's not easy. It's hard. There are a lot of mediators offering family law mediation. There is a lot of competition, and no one like it. So people don't necessarily need mediation, right? So I don't know how. I don't think it's easy to be a fully family law mediator and earn all your income from that. The other option is there's one side of it's not necessarily family law, but it's very connected, child protection. But many lawyers will do just child protection or just family law. I haven't done child protection yet. I only do family law for now. And right now I'm transitioning my practice to focus on collaborative. So collaborative practice is a way of alternative dispute resolution. So we have mediation, we have negotiation, we have arbitration, and we have collaborative practice. So collaborative practice, we work as a team. We have to have specific training as collaborative professionals, and both sides need to have lawyers. So whoever is listening, I don't know if you're aware, but if you go to court here in Ontario, in family courts, you don't need to have a lawyer. In collaborative practice, if you choose that option, you need to have a lawyer, and that lawyer needs to be a collaborative lawyer. And the full team would be also a financial professional who will work with the financial disclosure, and it's an impartial professional hired by both parties, and a family professional who is a psychologist or a social worker who is usually going to help first dealing with all the emotions. And also, they help a lot with the parenting terms. So when we're negotiating the parenting terms. So working as a full team, I think like right now, I think it's the best approach to divorcing and separation. The and like we are so committed to that we actually sign a participation agreement. And that participation agreement says that those professionals involved can never represent those clients in court. So that means if I work for a client as a collaborative lawyer, I can never be in court with that client. So that shows my commitment. That also shows my client's commitment, because who wants to hire another lawyer and pay for them to review everything again and, miss out on everything that was already done, right? And having the financial professional usually makes it easier and cheaper for the parties to prepare their financial disclosure. And having the family professional, it's also cheaper to discuss with a family professional the parenting terms than paying two lawyers. And they are much better equipped to deal with all the emotions and mediate that kind of conversation than lawyers are. But even when there is no children involved, it's nice to have a family professional, because even like in the middle of a conversation about spousal support, it's never easy. No one wants to pay spousal support. And who needs spousal support usually really needs spousal support. So it's a hard conversation, and the emotions get really high. And the lawyers sometimes, well, often, we are very focused on the arguments and the law and protecting our clients, that we may miss some cues. Like, okay, this client is checked out. We cannot, there is no way we can reach an agreement right now. And the family professional is there to help us with that, to call the breaks and check in with the clients at the right time and make sure that everybody we say they are in their green brains, so we can actually negotiate uh, a settlement. So collaborative is beautiful. And some lucky lawyers, they only do collaborative. So all their files, 100% are collaborative. I'm not there yet. But right now, so in 2024, September to November 2024, I had over 60 court cases. And April 2025, I had my first and only so far trial. And after that, I really decided I didn't want litigation. Litigation costs a lot of money to my clients, and emotionally, it's quite draining to everyone around. That trial really affected my family life too. And remember, my priority is my family. So I decided, you know what, like generally court is not helping my clients. It's not helping me. It's not helping my health, my work-life balance. It's not what I want for my life. I was already doing mediation training, and I was already waiting for my collaborative training. So I'm really transitioning. I'm not closing, at least not now, the door completely to litigation. But since then, I've reduced my litigation cases to two files, to the point that I had just one Now looks like I have some new litigation files coming, so I may end up with about 5 this year. But yeah, so this is what you do in family, like as a family lawyer, right? Like we answer a lot of emails, we do a lot of calculations for property division, family financial statements, incomes, imputing income to someone because often the reported incomes are not the actual incomes. So, we need to understand a little bit this person, that's the profession. How much should they make? And then you need to know, you need to be a little bit of an investigator. Um, and you need to calculate retroactive support. You need to kind of like foresee how much support, like when we're calculating lump sum spousal support, how much support is this person expected to be entitled to, in their lifetime from this relationship. So you kind of need to calculate all that. You need to know a little bit of taxes. You need to know a little bit of real estate. So we need to know a little bit of everything. I have a lot of clients from Brazil, so I also need to know a little bit of the connection between getting married in Brazil and moving here, separating in Brazil, all that. So it's never boring. There is never one case that's like the other. You just build on your experience. Obviously, I know way more now and I way more confident now than I was 6 years ago. But there is not one case that is like straightforward and it's super easy. Oh, I've seen this before. There's always something that you have never seen before.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing the reality of the practice and also the different possibilities within a family law practice. That's so interesting. I think that, like me, a lot of the listeners have been going through the Ontario bar exams, and I think that one of the subjects that we do end up studying is about the collaborative practice, but it's really just more about the rule of not being able to go to court with the same clients. So it's interesting that you brought up more of the why that is true, and I really like this idea of this is such a big commitment, right? And to wrap today's episode, I wanted to ask you a little more now, focused on young lawyers, early career professionals who are thinking about committing their practice to family law or pursuing that as a career. And I really like that you mentioned in a few times, what does the practice also can be like and how it could be draining in some points. The litigation can be very complicated and can take a personal toll as well. So I see that there's a lot of like personal characteristics that maybe will help you or will be not helpful when you're trying to become a family lawyer. And I wanted to ask from you, are there a few skills that you see in people that are usually helpful for those who want to pursue a family practice? Or if you have any comments regarding that, in a piece of advice for younger lawyers.
I think having life experiences does that a lot. That's what I draw on to. Like I have life experience as a child of divorced parents. I divorced here in Ontario. I have kids. My kids are in shared quote unquote custody. We don't use custody anymore, but they go back and forth. So I share a lot of the struggles my clients live, and I can tell them, hey, we need this term because I've seen this. I know how this works. But obviously, a young lawyer won't have all this life experience, and hopefully, not every family law lawyer has been through divorce. So I guess you really need to have listening ears. You really need to hear and understand and believe your client's struggles. Because from the outside, if you don't have the lived experience, you may not think it's important, but you really need to hear your client. So, for example, like the lunch bag, he didn't clean the lunch bag, or he sent a spray of milk. Like you're going to hear all this stuff. The pants go, but they don't come back. He didn't brush the my child's hair. So all this, especially if you don't have kids, you don't have this in your life, it may sound okay, just leave me alone. But no, like you're really dealing with people's lives, right? And you're setting them up either for failure or for success. So, and you need to learn, and with practice, you will learn how to the sweet spot between being detailed and not too detailed, because the more detail you have is also more doors for people to fight. but you also don't want to be so general that they're lost in the middle of the conflict. And with time, you do learn the sweet spot. But yeah, you need to, I ground my clients a lot. I shared with them the frustration, say, I hear you, it's frustrating, but here, we cannot do magic. So let's be realistic and let's see what we can do. We cannot change someone's behavior. This is what we can do. Right. So, and I work a lot, like, we'll have to be a little bit of a therapist too. So I work a lot with my clients on their own growth. Look, you need, like, even my website now says that I want to help my clients grow through their separation. Right. And I honestly believe that I grew through my separation and I want to help my clients do that. They cannot change their ex's behavior, but they can change how they deal with their exes. Right. So we need to be patient. We need to hear, to listen to our clients. We need to be detail oriented, like, we need to know what we're doing, and consider all the different aspects, like all the possibilities in the future. What's going to happen with this kid? This kid's going to grow. They're going to college. They may, so many things we're dealing with. And I guess on the professional career side of things, what I would say to a young lawyer is, if you know you want family law, don't wait until you're licensed. Show your future employer that you are interested in family law. Family law is hard. More than 50% of the lawyers that choose family law give up and go to different areas. So, as someone who has tried hiring lawyers very recently, it's really hard to find someone who really knows what family law is about and is applying, knowing how hard it's going to be, how draining it's going to be. And despite all that, that's what they want. So prepare your resume. Yes, get the grades, do all that, but go to CPD programs. Go on the Law Society's website and find CPD programs that are family law. Take whatever courses you can in family law. Osgoode has a family law skills program. Yes, it's expensive, but it will give you information that you should have, and it will show your future employer that you're really dedicated to this area of law. There is the Family Law Summit organized by the Law Society every year, and I think it's about $300-$400. And basically, like, if that's all you're gonna do, it's a lot of information, very good, very current information from the best in our area. And yeah, and read the decisions and really show them that, yes, this is what I want to do. I know how hard it is, and that's what I want.
I really appreciate you taking the time and coming into the podcast today, Camila. Thank you all for tuning into today's episode.
Thank you.